一年又要过了，应该有很多人来不及要将今年送走，开始全新的2021年。那我们在新的一年，不妨给自己设新的目标。Let's start our New Year's right.Hello， 欢迎来到商业英语 Career Plus 的 Podcast。在这边，我们利用多年国际职场与教学经验，带给大家最真实与贴切的职场英语知识。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus. As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, and Deloitte & Touche.
And I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality.I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and trained executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage. Hey everyone, welcome to Career Plus Podcast episode 33. Now, the end of 2020 is just around the corner, and I think for most of us we can safely say it was an interesting year.Interesting. Yes, yeah. Interesting. But we're definitely starting to look forward to 2021. Hopefully it'll look up for a lot of people. But how do you set goals? You know, New Year's resolution is always a thing, setting out what you want to do. You and I sat down last year and planned out a bunch of things that didn't really happen because, the world changed, yes. But we made our online class, we built this podcast. I would say that we did accomplish a lot in this very unique year.
We sure did. And, a lot of people set New Year's resolution, 新年新目标, but it's very often that people failed. Sometimes even after the first month, right, in a new year.
Yeah, so we're going to take away, world-changing situations like COVID, but one of the main reasons that a lot of people fail is because their goal is not very smart. Not to say that, it's not intelligent or they're not smart people, but the goal itself is vague or it doesn't get into a lot of detail, and so it's easy to let go. So most people make very big, wide-ranging things like, I'm going to lose weight. But they don't think about the process or they don't really plan out what does that mean.
所以有很多人其实设目标的时候设了一个非常高的目标，比如说他减肥，或者是他想吃的健康一点，这种比较 general 一点的一些目标。那其实这种目标呢非常的好，但是它很容易就会让我们失败，或者是让我们觉得好像做不到。所以我们今天跟 Nick 想要 share 给大家一个非常实用的，它叫做 S.M.A.R.T goals。那它就是一个 methodology， 帮助大家要怎么样去 set 你的 goals， 而且能够达到目标。
All right. So SMART goals are really easy to think about. It just follows the acronym S.M.A.R.T. S being specific. Your goals should always have real numbers and real deadlines. Should be measurable, which means that you have a way to track it. You have a way to see your progress and decide when you've hit your goal. It should be attainable, meaning if you set a goal like, I'm going to lose 200 kg, right? That's not very practical. Or I'm going to learn 1,000 vocabulary a week. It's not that attainable. It's a little hard. So it needs to be a reasonable thing that you can actually achieve. It needs to be realistic, meaning you know who you are and your friends know who you are. So if you're going to make this possible and have people keep you accountable, it needs to be realistic. And last, but probably the most important, is it must be time-bound. You need to have specific concrete deadlines that are not that flexible. Otherwise, it's very easy to go, I'll start the gym next week. The week after that.
所以SMART goals 那 specific 也就是具体， measurable 可以测量的，也就是它有个数字你可以去测量， attainable 可以达成的， realistic 可以实现的，最后一个就是 time bound 有时间限制的。
All right. There's a lot of information online that you can get into the details, or there's specific questions you can ask yourself. But for today's purposes, we just want to give you two examples. One is for those of you trying to improve your professional language and communication abilities. And then two, we'll have a little bit of fun.
Yeah. All right. So let's do the more realistic one first.
So for those of you out there who are trying to improve your English or your professional communication, this is a great goal to have for next year.
Right.
But how do you go about setting it?
All right. So one of the most common goal, and it's same for everyone. The one goal for language learning is I want to be fluent.
Yes, they love to say just this very general fluent.
我要很流利, but what does that mean? You got to break it down. So first step first, we got to be specific. Yeah.
Right. So how would you start to be specific about fluent?
I would definitely start asking questions. 我这个时候就可能会问说 OK, 所谓 fluent, 你的 definition, what is your definition of fluent? So a lot of people would usually say that I want to be able to express myself whenever I want and have that exact word, exact expression to reply to someone.
Right. They don't want to feel like they're pausing or waiting or translating in their head. They just want to feel like I can fully express my thoughts without stopping or translating and directly answer questions. The next step of that would be something like when someone says, I want to have the exact words. What do you mean by exact words? Like, what's the benefit of having the exact word?
So a lot of times, 这个时候可能很多人都会想说，那其实那个所谓的 exact words 就是要找到我心中脑海里面想要讲的那个字，也就是说他可能会觉得说OK, 那我可能我的 vocabulary 不够 I don't have enough vocabulary to express or to discuss certain issues with my coworkers.
Okay, but that gets into a question is it's not about vocabulary in general. It's what kind of discussion are you having with your coworkers where you need to have very specific words.
Exactly. 所以这个时候我们就继续问 Okay, so what do you actually usually talk about? What kind of circumstances? What kind of situations? And a lot of people would say, okay, 可能是跟公司开会或者是 conference call. Okay? 这两个是现在最常发生就是 conference call 开会的时候. All right.
All right. And then again, with specific is we're narrowing it down even more to say, all right, so in a conference call, let's say with your team or with a client, what are the most common topics of discussion?
所以这个时候 maybe you're the manager, you do have to coordinate a lot of projects, you have to push forward, you have to start negotiating terms. 那这个时候我们就会比较可以又更 specific 更具体了解到你可能你的 conversation 里面所需要的是什么，你所需要的是 negotiation 的 terms， 你所需要的是一些比较 advanced communication such as you have to stand your ground, you have to negotiate resource, these kind of things, or you have to do some leadership skills.
Now, when setting your SMART goal, you would use all this to be more specific. It's not, I want to be fluent, or it's not, I want to learn more vocabulary. It becomes very specific. I want to learn vocabulary that allows me to fluently speak during a conference call where I need to discuss things like leadership, persuasion, and negotiation.
Yeah, 所以这个就是你很具体的知道你的 vocabulary, 你要怎么样去学习这些 vocabulary, 还有这些 circumstances 跟这些 situation 是什么。Yeah.
Right.
So then we can move on to measurable.
Measurable is not fluency or I'm just going to study English. It's about a number.
Yeah.
If I want to grow my vocabulary or I want to become professionally competent in speaking during my conference calls, how do I measure that? How many words, say, per week do I want to really learn and put to use?
Yeah, exactly. So then again, you can say, I want 3 new vocabulary per week, or you want however much that's actually attainable, which goes to the next one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So measurable and attainable are very much connected. And measurable is I give a specific number, and then attainable is I evaluate whether that number is actually possible. So maybe I set what I consider a pretty attainable goal of 3 vocabulary a week. Now, if you have the time or you have access to a place to practice all the time, maybe that's possible. maybe you find that 3, I'm having a hard time really remembering, or I don't have the time to really put it to use, so I'll take it down to 1.
Yeah.
Or 2 is like that person who's like, this is snappy, easy. Let's push it. Let's go 5.
Right. 所以 again, 你也可以 challenge 自己一下，但是当然这个时候是你真的可以达到的。所以这个跟我们下一个 realistic 也非常有关系的，也就是这个是真的是is it something that's realistically that you can actually do? 因为 again, 我相信大家的生活非常的忙碌啊，you work late, sometimes you have family obligations, is it something that you can actually do?
Yeah, and this also goes back to one of the main reasons that a lot of people fail to achieve their New Year's resolutions is because they start the year with this ambition and this drive and go, I'm going to do this thing 5 days a week. But the reality is you have a family, you have a job, you actually want to go out with your friends and do social activities. And so when you're like every day for 1 hour, you'll find that that's where it starts to drop off. You're like, well, Friday I'm going to go out with my coworkers. So, okay, I'll do 2 hours on Saturday. But then Saturday is family day. So you need to really think realistic as, okay, if I say I'm going to devote this amount of time, realistically, under the worst circumstances, what can I commit myself to doing?
Absolutely. 那最后一个也就是真的很重要的就是 time bound, 一定要有时间限制的，你不能说一直拖 right? Yeah, so I would say usually it's like a 3-month. That's probably a very good time bound, I would say.
Yeah, breaking your year into quarters. I mean, probably most of you are used to this in business, and setting a milestone for yourself. So again, if we went back to I am specifically trying to become more fluent in meetings, so I need to get the correct vocabulary to deal with negotiation and persuasion. And I'm going to do this by studying 5 words every week and, putting them to use at least 3 times a day. Yeah. Then time bound, again, you can go back and measure, okay, 3 vocabulary a week. By the time at the end of a quarter, I should be at 36 vocabulary. So you can set yourself a milestone. Now, anytime that you make a New Year's resolution or you make a goal, the reason that you set lower milestones is because you can go back through the SMART goal. Let's say that I get to the end of my first milestone and I should have 36 vocabulary. But I can only safely say I can have a command over 20 of them. Now you can reevaluate your goal. You can go back through obtainable, realistic, and adjust. So maybe because I can only get down to 20, I'm just going to dial it back and go 2 a week.
Right. 所以这个时候呢，当你已经比如说像刚刚 Nick 有讲嘛，如果我们到了3个月之后，你应该要有的36个单字，你发现你自己只有真正的学到了20个，那这个时候你在下一个 quarter 的时候，你就可以重新的调整，就表示说这个 goal 可能有点不是非常的 realistic， 或者它不是非常的 attainable， 那这个时候你就可以调整一下。那还有一个我想要提醒大家的是 really give yourself a little treat after you hit your goal.
Yes, some kind of treat yourself to a dinner or a drink or something that you enjoy and just create that incentive so that you can push forward.
给自己的小奖励 I think it's really, really important. Yeah, to push yourself forward. All right, so let's do something a little bit fun with the SMART goals. It doesn't have to be all serious about language learning, right?
Yeah, let's say this year, your big goal is to start dating again.
Yeah, okay. So help me, Nick.
All right, so we're going to help Sherry today think about her SMART goal for her to get back out into the dating market.
Oh, God.
So, Sherry, if your goal is to start dating again this year,
okay.
Could you be more specific? When you say dating, what is it you have in mind?
That's a really good question. Dating means going out for lunch, dinner. Actually, no, lunch, coffee, or dinner. That I'll consider as dating.
Okay. But how much time would you consider something to be a real date?
I would say 2 hours.
So 2 hours.
Yeah.
At least a date has to last 2 hours.
Yes.
Now, for you, the goal is to have just any kind of date, or you want a good quality date, or like when you go say, I'm going to start dating, for you, what would be a successful version of dating?
Oh, God. I think 真的要说到 dating 的话，应该是要有个很 quality conversation 吧，不要看电影 no movies. I don't do that. Yeah, like actual conversation, sit down for like a couple of hours and just really have a good conversation about life and, hopes and dreams.
Okay. Hopes and dreams. Wow. But again, we're being more specific. This is not, we'll go see a movie and not really get a chance to talk, but we're out together for 2 hours. But specifically is you want to be able to go somewhere for a certain number of hours where you can engage in a conversation and really get to know the person.
而且要 somewhere quiet.
Somewhere quiet.
Yes.
Okay. So if they decide to take you to a open band concert, then that's probably not. Okay.
Yes.
Now, why is this goal important to you?
Because I think it actually helps me to suggest what we can do on a date. Because if I leave it up to the guy and he'd be like, okay, let's go see a movie. And sometimes I'll maybe like, okay, sure. Yeah, but now that I know exactly what I want, I can go, no movie, please.
Yeah.
I need a real sit-down date.
Like I want to have a conversation,
yes, absolutely.
Right? An adult conversation. Okay. So we have a bit of a more specific goal. You're going to start dating, but your kind of quality date is at least 2 hours in a quiet setting where you can have real conversations. All right. So measurable.
Okay.
If you were to get yourself out back on the market, how often do you want to do this? How much, time and energy do you wish to put forth?
By the way, this is very embarrassing to talk about. I didn't know I could get a little bit nervous. Oh my God. I would say twice a month is enough for me.
Twice a month.
4 hours a month.
4 hours a month you can devote.
I have very low goals.
Okay. Very well, okay, we'll get there. Achievable. Okay. You're a busy person. You've got your business. You're constantly in demand, going all over Taiwan to teach courses. We have this podcast going on. You want to still spend some time with your family. How achievable is this 2 dates a month?
I would say it's definitely very achievable. Maybe a little bit 太少.
Oh, okay. So we just want to devote
well, I would say 4 to 6, like 2 to 3 dates. There's a range. 2
to 3 dates, as long as they're within this 2 hour range.
Exactly.
But what happens if the date is amazing and it lasts 6 to 8 hours? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now we get into the realistic. So the reality is most dates don't have a very clear cut. Okay, you pick me up at 7, but 9 out. Right? I'm gone. Peace, homie. How do you, how realistic is it to confine dates to 2 hours? And how do you work around that?
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, realistically speaking, if I'm having a really great conversation, then yeah, it can go longer. Absolutely. But, even if it's just an hour and a half, or an hour, like a coffee, something, in between our busy schedule, that's completely fine as well. So,
okay. So do you feel that the quality of the conversation is more relevant than, say, the specific time restrictions?
Yes. So 那个值啊，那个 conversation 的值 the quality, it's definitely more important.
But you yourself are willing to set aside at least 4 to 6 hours a month.
Exactly. Guaranteed.
Now, with all the dating apps out there, and you're very pretty, so there shouldn't be a problem setting up these dates, right? So actually, you're just going to have to be knocking down.
I don't use dating apps.
Okay, well, options. Let's look at the last one.
Okay.
Time bound. How do you make sure that this is getting going and that you're, hitting these goals?
Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to give myself a half a year.
You're going to half a year before you start dating? Or
No. Half a year to... yeah, I need your help. Okay, let's say 3 months.
So by the end of 3 months, you want to be on the first date, or by the end of 3 months, you have a certain quota of dates that you would like to have gone on?
By the end of the 3rd month, I like to have at least 3 dates.
Okay, so we're going to ramp up. Our end goal here is probably a few dates a month.
Okay.
But we'll ramp up and just go, okay. So first milestone is at the end of Q1 of 2021, you'll have gone on 3 dates. Do we care the quality of these dates?
I mean, there's always trial and errors, right?
Right.
I can't guarantee.
You got to see if the hat fits,
exactly.
right? Okay.
没有关系，就是只要有3个 dates. Yeah, the first quarter 就好了。
But by the time you get to the first quarter, then you can evaluate whether
Exactly.
that's enough
Yes.
to find true love.
Yes. 或者我可以顺便了解到自己, it's a self-learning opportunity.
All right. Well, that sounds like you have a pretty solid SMART goal there, and I hope it works out for you.
It sounds so stupid.
Hey, you gotta make those goals. It's not good enough to say I'm going to get back out there. You got to think about with your professional career.
Yeah.
How do you make this a reality?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Coach Nick.
I'm so happy that I could help you. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 2 examples, and you also think about your own SMART goal. We'll put a few links and examples inside the description that you can look through and think about how to make your 2021 the best one.
Yeah. And by the way, SMART Goal 其实有非常多不同的版本，所以如果你上网看到的话，你发现有点小小不同的话，没有关系。我觉得每一种都还蛮有用的。All right?
Yeah, so our goal is just get a SMART goal.
So I hope everyone have a happy new year.
Happy New Year.
And let's welcome the new year together.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
如果你喜欢我们的 podcast， 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook。那也可以写信到我们的信箱 yourcareerplus@gmail.com。